JC, NFLPA question here. With the Titans and the Steelers potentially, is it written that a team needs to get a certain amount of practice days before they can play, or is that something you guys are tackling as you go?
I don't think there's anything written in there. Still, a lot depends on the testing, and we'll continue to track the testing as this week goes on and make sure we're trending in the right direction. So that's really the big thing right now, but I don't think there's anything written about a mandatory certain amount of days of preparation.
Thanks, Zach. Tom Withers, your line is open.
JC, thanks, man. Hey, I guess they've moved that Monday night game to Tuesday or Wednesday now. Just what other concerns does that create, JC? And given that this outbreak has just happened, what greater concerns do you have about there being a repeat of this?
Yeah, I think the big thing, like we talked about last time I talked to you guys, the needing to keep this top of mind and understanding that this virus is still out there, and it's easy to fall into a sense of ease or relax on some of the protocols. But the protocols are what's keeping us going, and following those protocols and making sure we make the right decisions. And the protocols are now in effect of contact tracing and testing and keeping people out of the facility to stop any further spread. We have been going really smoothly for a long time, and now there was some expectation that this was eventually going to happen. It's tough to keep the virus completely out. But now it's about everybody making good decisions and the protocols going into effect and working from here on out.
Were you consulted, or was the union consulted on the switch in times, et cetera?
We were talking about the games.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that's more the NFL sets a schedule. There are some rules
right.
that are in effect, but the NFL sets a schedule. And again, we still have to track the testing and make sure we trend in the right direction, that everybody's safe to go and play that game.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. We'll go to Daryl Ryder.
Hey, JC, I read your op-ed this morning that was posted on the NFLPA website about turf. You expressing the challenges as a player playing on it, and that do you anticipate that will be something that you and the union will be focusing on, maybe trying to convert some of these outdoor facilities that currently have the field turf and making sure that they get turned to grass?
Yeah, I mean, the data stands out. I mean, those numbers are staggering, the difference in injury rate between turf and natural grass. And it's possible to get grass in every location, and it's about pushing for that. And like I said in the article, we all should be working towards the safest style of play. And we know the dangers of playing on turf. That's not good for anybody. It's not good for the players. It's not good for the GMs and the head coaches. It's not good for the owners. It's not good for the fans. Increased injuries isn't good for anybody. And until we can find a way to get synthetic turf to respond and react like natural grass, it's too much of a danger to continue to play on and expect different results. This data was from an extended amount of time. It's clear that it's one of the main causes of these increased injuries, and I think we need to start doing something about that.
We'll go to JC Tretter for our next question.
Yeah, JC, I was going to ask you the same thing. So I'll go with this. Could you expound a little bit more on how you push for the turf change, other than writing a newsletter and saying look at the data?
Yeah, well, there's multiple steps to take, and now we have a committee of engineers who look into this. But the first step is getting a better testing regimen on how we test these surfaces. The collect test for hardness, but not for performance and safety. We need to get a better, league-wide on all surfaces, a better testing procedure to make sure we're playing on the safest surfaces possible. Then it's about continuing to push to provide us with the safest work environment possible. And if we know grass is significantly more safe than synthetic turf, it's about continuing that push forward and making it a priority. Player safety will always be a priority for us and for the union, and just making that push every single day and making sure we're providing the safest work environment as possible.
I know there were like a million topics when you guys were negotiating the CBA. Was this something that came up at all in discussions with the league?
I wasn't on the executive committee at the time, so I don't know if it came up in bargaining. It's something that, from here on out, I think we need to make a priority.
Scott Patrick will have our next question.
JC, I got a quick turf one and then a football question for you. Did what happened with the Niners at MetLife Stadium factor into the need for you or the timing of your column?
I mean, it definitely sparked an interest in writing it. I try to wait till each month to have something that's kind of top of mind to talk about. So that was the issue. But again, this data didn't even include the last season and this season. So this isn't even counting into or taking into effect what's gone on the last 2 years. So it's been pretty clear for a while. Again, I know how it feels anecdotally. I know how my body responds playing on turf versus playing on grass. I know how much I prefer to play on grass, and the data backs that up. So that's the main reason for writing it.
Gotcha. And then, the last 2 weeks, you guys have been able to win, basically running the ball a ton, especially in the fourth quarter. But if you guys get into a shootout with Dallas, what's the confidence level that Baker and the rest of this offense can put up a bunch of points through the air?
Yeah, I feel confident in that. I think our offense is going pretty well. Again, we've been able to run the ball well, and that marries up with the run and the pass. And that's what we want, is to not have the defense be able to know exactly what we're doing, whether it's a run or a pass. We've got great action, great keeps. And I think Baker's done a really good job.
Thanks.
Jeff Shadell, your line is open.
Hey, JC, could you expound on how the offensive line has really come together here with, in just 3 games, especially with the different guys at the tackle spots?
Yeah, I think, again, they got plenty of work together. Obviously, I was the guy that wasn't out there with them during training camp. But the guards and tackles worked together plenty in the training camp time. And I've obviously worked with Wyatt and definitely Joel for a long time now. So I think that was never a concern about how we were going to gel together. There's plenty of time to get that done. And again, especially the type of offense we run, what the footwork's supposed to be, where you're supposed to be, and how you're supposed to get there. And then it's all about marrying it up and make sure we're all on the same page, which we have plenty of meetings, and getting all on the same page is never really a concern for us. We've got a lot of experience, and we're able to go out there and we're coached up well.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll go to Nate Ulrich.
Hey, JC, I know we ask you about the running backs a lot. They're the only tandem in the NFL with each having 200 rushing yards apiece, or more than 200. Just from your perspective, how do you see them pushing each other? How key is their relationship to making all this work?
Yeah, I think they just care about winning. And I think they're both big fans of each other, and they both are excited when the other one does well. And we're fortunate enough to have 2 extremely talented running backs who run the ball hard, run the ball well, and take advantage of any crease we can give them. So it's great for us as offensive linemen having 2 guys like that behind you, knowing they're going to make you right, and they're gonna make big plays in the run game and make our job easier.
Dan Lobby, you have our next question.
Hey, JC, now that we're in the season, and especially in a week like this, I'm just curious, how do you kind of balance your role as union president and also trying to get ready for a game? Is it more challenging?
Just an added responsibility. I don't think it's too troubling or too much of an issue. You always have some bit of free time during the season anyways, and instead of playing video games or scrolling on your phone, you're doing something with the union now. So it's not that big of an issue. Yeah, an off day on Tuesday, we can get a lot of your stuff done. And obviously something seems to always pop up. So you're just available whenever you can to help out when you can.
Thanks.
Tony Grossi, your line's open.
All right, JC, I read an interesting story today on how through 3 weeks, points are way up, time of game is down, and they pointed to holding calls being way down. Do you, enforcement of holding is kind of been lax on purpose, according to the story. Do you see it on film, and how pleasant surprised and you enjoy the fact that holding calls are down?
Yeah, I'm not going to complain too much about that. Not too much of a worry for me. I think it shows that we were able to prepare even with the limited offseason, play with good fundamentals. I think that acclimation period was really good for players because it lets you, instead of being thrown right into 11 on 11, thrown right into team drills and competitive drills, it gave you a bunch of time to work with your coaches on fundamentals, especially the offensive line, of getting your footwork down, getting your hand placement down. I think that was a big advantage of getting guys their technique down early on in training camp. I think that's translating to the game as well.
Thanks, Tony. We'll go to George Thomas.
JC, I was just wondering, you mentioned that you could tell the difference in playing on turf, field turf for you. What's the difference between the two physically? Can you describe that for us?
So usually I know going in the next day is going to be the issue. So if we have to, for whatever reason, have really bad weather and have to go indoors and play on turf, I know my joints, my lower extremity joints are going to be stiffer, more swollen. And that's something you kind of understand going into it. You kind of dread a little bit, knowing that's just going to be harder to get your body back where you want it by Sunday. That's just kind of the feel. Then you add in the increase in injury rate, just based off how synthetic turf is built differently than grass, and grass's ability to tear away and release your ankles, your knees from being in compromised situations, and turf's not built that way. So you have kind of two different issues. You got one, the pounding of just being on a harder surface on turf and just that constant pounding. And then second, when you get we put so much force and so much torque in the ground. When you're doing that, eventually something has to give in certain situations. Usually the grass is what's going to give. It's going to release your ankle, release your knee from being in that compromised situation. When you're on turf, the turf's not going to give. It's not going to rip away. It's going to be your joint that's the one that has to give. And that's why you see kind of higher injury rate.
Thank you.
Thanks, George. We have one hand up. It's from Scott Petrick. We'll make this our last question.
Hey, JC, we just talked to Nick, and he said it didn't mean anything to him to be considered the best back in the league or one of the best. But I'm wondering, does it mean something to the rest of you guys that he gets the recognition I'm guessing you guys think he deserves? Is one of the best?
Yeah, I think, again, I don't think any of us get caught up in outside praise. I think we want both Nick and Kareem to, run for a bunch of yards, be super successful. I don't think we worry about rankings or anything that kind of is people's opinions. We want our two backs to be extremely successful running the ball and put up great numbers and continue to do that. So I think Nick's the type of guy too that isn't worried about any of that. He just cares about winning, and we're in the same boat. But we just want to perform on the field and not worry too much about where guys stand in the public eye. We're just focused on what happens on the field.